All right, so what we're gonna do here is the integrity roof system with the WinterGuard, the diamond deck. We have a sidewall where we're gonna do shingle tint flashing. I have a plumbing flashing, I have a valley. So basically I'm gonna show you how to finish off a plumbing pipe, actually putting the underlayment around it. What I do is cut a piece of WinterGuard, stick it up on top of the pipe, put it over the top, take and cut an X in there. Okay, I got my X cut in. I'm gonna slide this down. And now, because I cut the X out, I've actually got it wrapped around the pipe at the base. Here's my plumbing flashing that's going over the top of it. I wanna be at least 4 inches around the whole diameter of it with the WinterGuard. Now, what I usually like to do, especially in the Midwest, is I'll take a piece of ice and water shield WinterGuard and I'll cut it and I'll put it up the wall. We say go at least 2 inches. If you can go a little more, that's awesome. And then come with the WinterGuard out. So then we're gonna put the diamond deck. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my nail gun because I'm gonna cover this within 2 days. If you're gonna have it exposed longer, we'd like you to use plastic cap nails. Otherwise, if you're gonna cover it in 2 days, your roofing gun is good. So like I say, I'm gonna put that up 2 inches up the wall. Got to cut a circle around where my plumbing flashing goes. Or run this out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run this out and I'm gonna get this pulled tight, and then I'm gonna nail it in to where I'm comfortable walking on it. I nailed the bottom corner, I'll nail the top corner, come back here, pull the top corner, get it tight, being I'm by myself, then come back to the bottom, cut it, pull it tight. Now I've got my diamond deck on, I can walk on it. If it gets a little wet, actually it makes it a little more tackier. All right, now I'm gonna come into my valley, and I'm gonna wanna overlap this into my valley. I wanna stay back a little bit with it. Rule of thumb, kinda, this is about 6 inches. So if you put your hand in the valley with your thumb out, you stay outside that thumb, you're gonna stay 6 inches out from the center of the valley. Now we're gonna run the diamond deck going the other way. Get a little tension on it, put a couple nails, come back over here, pull it tight, throw a couple nails, grab the bottom. Okay, now you're gonna put your metal up the edge, whatever underlayment you have, you want to cover with your metal. Now, again, you want to go overlap in the valley. Again, stick your hand down in there, stay outside your thumb, more than 6 inches off the center of the valley, which really helps when you're putting the shingles on. Now we're going to do a close cut valley. One side is going to extend 12 inches beyond the center of the valley. Rule of thumb on that is if you got 2 equal sides, flip a coin and take which one you like. If one side is higher, going to shed more water, that's the side that actually gets cut. Always the lower side of the roof is the one that you extend 12 inches beyond the center of the roof. Now there's a few questions on that. You know, what part of the shingle do I measure to get that 12 inches? I always went with the top of the shingle. And what I would do is I would snap a line basically 12 inches from the center of the valley. So I want those shingles to expand. The top of the shingle should be hitting this line. All right, so how we're gonna start this out is we're gonna use swiftstart. Swiftstart comes in a 2-piece. Bend it, break it, good to go. I'm gonna cut 6 inches off. And I'm gonna overhang the metal. We'd like about a 1/2 inch. For those of you who don't know about the Patriot shingle, it's a strip shingle. From a distance, it'll look like an architectural shingle. put it side by side with a landmark. Unless you walk up to the roof, you're not going to tell the difference. This would be an upgrade from a 3-tab shingle and a downgrade from an architectural, but you know, sometimes if cost is a problem, this is a shingle to use. Now what I want to do with the very first shingle is I want to cut the left side of this shiplap edge off. The bottom of the shingle is actually what I'm going to be running flush with my overhang. Now when you nail these shingles, you do not nail in or above the cement line. You want to nail just below them. All right, and we're going to do a 6 and 6. So basically we're going to come back 6 inches. Now, when you line this up, like I say, you got the shiplap edge, you can line up with the top here. I'm not going to throw this away. There's probably a good chance I can use that in the valley. So there's your 6-inch step, 6-inch back set. Now you'll continue on, take the rows across to the valley. This shingle is designed to go on pretty quick. They say it'll go on about 33% faster than a 3-tab shingle. All right, now you got your 6th row. Then you start the 6th row all over again. Take and cut off the shiplap edge on your 7th shingle. What I'm going to do in the valley, like I say, we're going to do a close cut. I'm going to run this side 12 inches. I have my line snapped. All right, I'm not going to nail this anymore because what I'm going to do when I come across this side, I'm going to weave this first shingle. I'm going to stick the shingle in right up over the top of this. I want to get my starter underneath it, but I'm going to put my shingle over the top of it, and then as my rows come, I'll go across. But I want to be able to get that weaved in here, and then I'll start cutting my 2nd shingle. Now, as you can see here, here's my 12-inch line right here. Now you see I'm only getting just a little bit of it, so I'm going to have to basically take a 1-tab and stick it in there. Now that's where my cut pieces here will come in handy. All right, now again, you don't want to nail any closer than 6 inches to the center of the valley. Put this down, fit it down into the crevice of the valley, stick a nail up on top. But I'm going to want to nail this a little high so I can get that shingle up underneath to give me my weave. You definitely do not want a shingle to come up into the valley right here, and then you have to piece it right here. So again, you're going to bring this out, piece. One of the pieces I cut off should fill that gap. One thing you want to be careful of when you're adding pieces in, you don't want to match up the joints where you think, well, I only need 6 inch, you'll throw a 6-inch piece, and the next thing you know, your joints are stacked. All right, so we got the valley all done up to the point that we're going to do, and now we're going to work this side over. Before we do that though, we're going to snap a line 2 inches off the center of the valley, because that's what our cut's going to be going all the way up the valley. So now what we're going to do, start with a full shingle. We're going to cut the right edge off. Now with the end wall here, I'm going to have to trim this shingle a little bit. Again, we got a 1/2-inch overhang. Now what I would do is I would start my step flashing right now. What you do, shingle tin, and what I already did was I cut this to go around the corner. Now you don't want to nail the flashing into the sidewall. So basically what you're going to do is shingle, shingle tin, shingle, shingle tin. Now we'll work this towards the valley. As I say, we want to weave this first shingle in, and we want to weave it in underneath this shingle. Now I've already put my starter shingle underneath, so I can put a nail in that just to hold that down. All right. And again, I want to keep that 6 inches away. All right, so we got the weave here where when the water comes down, if you were to cut this shingle, you know, this actually gives it a little way to go before it comes off the roof. It's not going to go down, you know, and hit the bottom shingle. Now I'll start my cuts right here with the 2-inch from the center of the valley. Now we're ready to put the shingles into the valley and cut them down. But before we do that, we need to run a 2-inch bead. You don't want to be right to the center, because if you're walking on these, you know, pressing them down, you're going to ooze that out. We're going to go back just a little bit here. All right, now we're ready to nail the first row. All right, you can cut these as you go. Basically, you can run 3 shingles and then cut it. Use this as a straight edge to cut it. But remember, after you cut it, you have to cut the corner of the shingle. All right, so now we're gonna fill in at the valley here, and we still have these pieces we cut off from the other end. All right, now we're starting to get up to our plumbing pipe here. So we'll continue this over, and what we're going to do is basically this shingle, just the top of it is hitting the pipe. I'm going to use this shingle, will be the last shingle that is covered by the flashing and the pipe, and then I'll use this shingle to go over the flashing and around it. Okay, so what we'll do, line up where this pipe is. This is a nice close cut valley made with the Patriot shingle. Now, one thing that I didn't tell you, and you might want to think about, is you got to be careful when you're cutting your shingles that you do not cut through this layer here. You know, you might not go all the way through, but even if you etch it a little bit, it'll absorb some water in there. You know, the asphalt's only going to keep it up so much. And you could have a leak in your valley and probably never find it, because this actually will leave just a little cut. So you want to be really careful with that. All right, now we're going to put a flashing in around a plumbing pipe. Now we want to have as little bit of metal showing as possible. This way you're going to actually enclose this and cover up this metal pretty good. And there's a couple different ways that you can shingle around this. One would be to just line the shingle up. We'll just mark out where the cap is. Cut that out. I might have to trim it a little bit to fit around it. Maybe not. It might just fit over there real nice. And the same with this shingle. You're going to have to trim this around the collar. I like to just scratch the shingle instead of cutting through it until I'm ready to cut where it goes. Okay, now with this plumbing flashing, it does come with a rubber boot. Basically, you just slide it over. It'll basically seat to the metal. You do not want to ever use roof tar on this. The roof tar will eat the rubber. They do make another cover where you can go over the top of this and it's another rubber boot. So use that as opposed to roof tar. And there you go, there's your plumbing pipe. After you finish the roof, one thing you want to do for sure is you want to caulk these nails. You don't want to leave any exposed nail. You want to take and dab a little tar on it. If you want, you can take a shingle, rub it together, put some rocks on it, cover it up and make it look like part of the roof.